Lynda's been doing these things so wonderfully for so long. We are so blessed. Help us welcome back Lynda Austin.
Thank you. Thank you, all of you. I am actually quite amazed that there are this many people here on a rainy day on a holiday weekend. You are more likely to see me on a holiday weekend because nobody else wants to do this. And Gary will call up and say, I've got 5 Sundays in this month, or there's a holiday here. I've almost forgiven him for talking me into doing the service in November a few years ago. Just called and said, can you do such and such? And I said, sure, you know me, never been a stage I didn't like. And then the week before, I realized, oh my God, it was the Sunday after the election. What do you say to people? Whatever you say is going to, really aggravate somebody. And it did.
Amazing job.
It was the first time ever I got a standing ovation.
Oh.
And I thought that the fact that we didn't start any fistfights was really good. So I am thrilled to see you here. I know there's a couple of people new that I think I met them, all the new ones this morning. And one woman made the comment that she just knew she was supposed to be here today. And I have to chuckle because that's my intention, and that's been my experience here at Lake Harriet. I don't care if there's 50 people here, 500 people here, or 5 people here. I want the people to be here who are meant to be here, who I can serve, I can help, and will get something out of this experience. My goal is to create a sacred, safe space for you to get what you need. And my job is to be a channel for that to come to you. How many of you have had channeled readings in the past? Pretty good number. I did not want to be a channel. It wasn't my goal. It wasn't on my bucket list. I didn't want to do it. And I was thinking on the way over here today that when I was a kid, I felt that I was different. But I think all kids feel that way. But what I realized is when you're a kid, you don't know what everybody's feeling because it's all new to you. And I had experiences through my life, but I wasn't one of those kids that talked to people when they were 4, talked to dead people or anything. I was a nice person, but, wasn't nothing special. So when I ended up taking a meditation class and getting kicked out because I couldn't meditate, sorry, Jay, it doesn't work for me. My teacher told me I needed to channel because when I try to meditate, my crown opens up and all this light comes in. And she says, you need to channel. And I literally, honest to God, true story, said, I can't do that. I'm a housewife from Minnetonka. Well, apparently there was more to it than that. But I have been blessed for the last 30-some years to do channeled readings for people, to teach people, to speak to people, basically about love. Because my source, who I call Essence, is totally and completely loving. There's no judgment. There's no, you got to do this, or boy, you really screwed up on that. It's totally loving. And I, for 30-some years, have had the opportunity to sit in that energy for hours at a time with people. So it's kind of softened my edges a little bit with everybody but my family. But I love the saying that no wonder your family pushes your buttons, they install them. Yeah. But I love being here because it gives me an opportunity to make what I know is accessible to you. So before we start channeling, does anybody have any questions about channeling or how it works or why it works? Or you all get it. Do you have a question?
I know that I'm not sure what it is.
You're not sure what it is? For me, I simply relax and say a little grounding prayer. And see, the universe has ways of sneakily tricking you into doing the things it wants you to do. I don't know if you've noticed that, but they don't play fair. Because for like 18 months before I started channeling, I was having horrible sinus headaches. And I was really into biofeedback at the time. It was the early 80s. And so for 18 months, I had been visualizing opening up my head to release that pressure. And when I told that to my teacher, she said, "Oh my God." She said, "You're going to have to channel because they're not going to leave you alone if you don't." And that was pretty much true. But I finally made an agreement with the universe. And you can bargain with them, I have discovered. I said, "Okay, you want me to do this, I'll do it. But I will never hang one of those big red palms out in front of my house. And I am never going to try to, just haul the people in. You're going to have to send me the people you want me to serve. Where you know better than I do who needs me. So you bring the people in and I will do my thing." And that's worked very well. Plus, I learned so much. I've never done a reading for anybody else where I didn't learn something. But what I do is basically just relax and open up my mind to listen to what is available. And over the years, it's gotten a lot easier because I trust it. When I first, I have such a strong left brain that I was going, okay, this is a aspect of myself that I haven't integrated. And so I haven't, and I'm going all like this stuff. And finally I just said, okay, let it go. And when I just let go and listen, all this great, wonderful stuff comes through. And your job is to ask the questions. Now, I do want to tell you, I have a website called Follow Joy. And the reason it's called Follow Joy is that my source says joy is the path to enlightenment. She said, joy is the breadcrumbs through the forest to enlightenment. Follow your joy. Because one of the first readings I did, a woman said, "I want to know what kind of work I should do." In essence said, "We will not support that dysfunctional thinking." And I'm a very conscious channel. I mean, I hear everything. I remember it while it's happening, and most of it I let go of afterwards because it's not mine. But she said, "We will not support that dysfunctional thinking." And I'm fairly new at this at the time, and for me, it's like I'm sitting over here, third party listening, and I'm going, what? She just wants to know what kind of job. And the woman said, "Well, I just want to know what kind of work I should look for." And Essence says, "Don't look for work, you'll find it. Follow your joy." And in this particular case, it was a real exercise for me and a real gift for me because this woman had been talking to a friend of hers about home decorating. They were going to do, but that wasn't, in her mind, real work. It was just like, a hobby. It was something she did. And after the reading, she talked to me a little bit, and I'm a life coach, so I was able to coach her into saying, "Why don't you try that?" And 4 months later, she called me and said, I'm making more money than I've ever made. I'm ecstatically happy. I'm doing exactly what I like, and every day is joyful. So don't look for work, you'll find it. That's one of the great universal truths. In essence, that's the thing about universal truth. It's universal. But it's not about, another great one is, you don't get extra credit if it's hard. Thinking of all the favorites from people here at IHM, let go or get dragged. It's, she's funny, she's fun, and she's loving. It's a loving energy that's created during this time. So, without further ado, I'm going to pull this chair out here. I got some water and I've got a Kleenex in my pocket because I'm now on Repatha for my cholesterol. But the one and only side effect I've had is that your nose runs like a faucet. And I initially was explaining this to people by saying, this is the new drug I'm using. And finally my son said to me, Mother, would you just change that and say I'm on some new medication? So I say that now, I'm on medication. And David, who is my son who lives with me and my muse and my gift from God, David means gift from God. And when I say that to people, I'm on some new medication, and he goes, this is the same kid who, when I'm his caregiver because he had a stroke a few years ago, and we went to the doctor, and I go with him because he can't always remember what he needs to fill him in. And they ask him that inevitable question, do you feel safe at home? And I'm sitting here, and he's here, and the doctor's there, and he goes, shh, she's right here. So you can see why I love living with him. So what I do is a little grounding prayer that helps me let go of me, more or less. But like I say, I'm a conscious channel. I'm not a trance channel. I'm not a medium. I don't talk to dead people unless they talk to me, and sometimes in readings they have. The problem is I usually don't know that they're dead when they're doing it. So somebody's dad will come in and say something, and then afterwards he'll tell me, oh my God, my dad's died. I'm like, oh, okay. Because they don't feel, what does dead feel like? It just feels like, so.
And Lynda, if the people, when they ask their question, make sure they have the microphone.
Okay, somebody got the mic?
Jay's got it.
Oh, ever handy, Jay. So ask whatever you want. I always tell people, if what I say resonates as truth for you, hang on to it. If it doesn't feel right, let it go. Any reader of any type who tells you that they are 100% accurate is self-delusional, because it's impossible. This is still information that's coming through me, and my job is to be as clear a channel. I hate the word channel, I like the word conduit. I'm a conduit. But if it doesn't feel right, say so. Or I say, that doesn't feel right. Can you explain that a little bit? Don't ever buy it whole cloth if it doesn't feel right for you. I made the choice when I started channeling that I did not want to be a trance medium. I want to be a conscious channel. That's because at heart I'm a controlling bitch. And I don't want to take me off someplace and let God knows who come in. So I'm a conscious channel, and I learn a lot that way. So here we go. I am the light. The light is surrounding me. The light is protecting me. The light is transforming me. Divine love is flowing around and through me, solving and dissolving all situations for the good of all. A higher power is in charge of my life, and only good can come through me. My mind is open, my heart is receptive, and miracles are happening right now. I consciously choose to raise my vibration to a place of truth and light. Yes, well, we are delighted to be back in Lake Harriet again. We have often said to folks that the channel never takes us anywhere, but she truly takes us everywhere, and so it is nice to be open about the fact that we are here and assisting you. We want to say, first of all, that the theme for this month at the church was living a digital life, surviving the digital life or something on that order. And we will tell you, not so secret, the channel is a Luddite. She refuses to text. She won't text. And it is very interesting because she was a groundbreaking force in the graphic arts industry in the Twin Cities during the digital revolution. And so she had to stay on top of everything all the time. And now she just says, enough, I'm done. So her vision of living the digital life is trying to survive it. She moved this week and was without email or phone for 8 days. And the fact that she's here is one of the reasons that she didn't commit suicide during that period. She owed it to you guys to be here. So we want to say to you today that this is an absolutely amazing time in your lives, all of you. What is happening now is an energy that is accelerating the change that you felt coming for a long time. Many of you have been tearing your hair out for the last couple years saying, I can feel something's shifting, something's changing, nothing feels right, I'm not in the right place, and I don't know what the right place is. Well, more and more, it's like, when it starts to snow, or today, like when it started to rain, there's a few drops, and then a few more drops, and a few more drops. Well, you are at the very beginning of an unbelievable deluge of energy and change. Don't try and get it right. Just get it. Allow it to be perfect. Know that whatever is going on in your life now, whatever is being released, whatever is pulling away, old relationships, old jobs, old beliefs, when they don't fit anymore, let go of them. Because you are being prepared for something totally different. We can't even describe to you the change that's coming, because it would be like trying to describe a computer to an Aboriginal who had never even seen electricity. You have nothing to reference it to. So be aware that this place of I don't know what's going on is perfectly all right. You're not expected to know what's going on. Just keep your hands inside the ride and go to the end. Because you are accelerating your experience here. You are integrating your spiritual aspect with your human aspect. Something which we have told the channel, you need to remind yourself every time you do this and say namaste. Every time you do this and say amen. We say your prayers. What you are doing this is a representation of the integration and merging of the physical and the spiritual to become whole. This represents wholeness. This represents a dropped mic. But that's what this is about. You will be amazed how everything opens up when you remind yourself of this. You are moving into the fullness of wholeness of who you are meant to be in this place at this time. You've all heard the saying, I'm a spiritual being having a human experience. Yes, and it's about the human experience. You're a spiritual being here to have a human experience and integrate it and become whole. And that's what this energy that you are in now is about. Allow yourself to open up to it. Don't try to figure it out. Open up to it and understand that it is for everything that's happening to you, no matter how bad it looks, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, no matter how bad it looks, this is all purposeful. Why? Because on a level, a couple years back, you all reached the point, or enough of you reached the tipping point, that you said, this is not working. I want more. You all started to raise your vibration. You all started to resonate at a higher level. And what happened was, as we have said this many times, over the years, all the things that you're upset about now were there. They were just below the surface. It's like you had a pristine pond of fresh water and you started throwing garbage in it and letting it sink down until it finally, because it's spring-fed, plugged up the spring. And then enough of you got sick of it and wanted it to change that the new energy came through and the spring pushed all that garbage to the surface. So not as a matter of destruction, but so you could look at it and say, oh, I got to clean that up. This is a cleanup period. This is about cleaning up. You know, you hear the thing, drain the swamp, do this, do that. This is about cleaning up what you have been ignoring for years. The injustice, the hypocrisy, the dishonesty, the imbalance. Is it true that you can have a more fair, more balanced, more loving world? Yes, absolutely. You have to choose it, and you have to get rid of the garbage that you've been putting up with. And you can each begin that by doing it in your own lives, in your own hearts. There are two, we won't call them little ones because they'll be upset. Two younger people are here today that the channel met. And even they can go in their school, in their community activities, they can look in their own hearts and say, am I playing fair? Am I being myself? Am I living my truth? That's what all of you need to start doing. What do I really believe in? What do I really want? You have to create the vision you want for the future. You can't just say, oh, this is terrible, this is terrible. What do you want instead of that? If you're saying no to that, what are you saying yes to? And ask yourself, is this what I really want for the world? We have said that if you picture the world, all the people in the world, what do they want? The majority of them want the same things that you do. a roof over their head, food on their table, food for their children, a place for their children to play where they won't be shot or bombed or kidnapped, and a place to sit down at the table together and talk about what wonderful things happened in their lives that day. That's what they want. And when you stop and realize they are all trying to get that, but everybody's using a different method, then you have to back up and say, it's not about fighting anything. You fight it, you feed it, you all know that. It's about loving it to death, loving it into harmony. And so the most powerful impact that we've ever had on the channel, we will tell you this, is when we said to her, this is not about saying, no, I don't want that. This is about integrating it, taking it in and making it love. If you see a place that you start to get angry at how someone's being treated, what's happening on your television, and you begin to say, what you do is you begin to judge what's happened, that this is a terrible thing that someone has done to someone else. Stop right there. The minute you judge someone, you stop learning. You've labeled it, and that's the way it is, because you've said so. If you can look at that and see in that person a soul who came to this world for the same reason you did, the same purpose. Your purpose here is to be a physical manifestation of love. If you can look at that person, any person that you don't feel you could love, and go down to the very nitty-gritty and realize we're both here for the same reason, to be a physical manifestation of love. And this person is miserably unhappy because they're not doing that. If you can connect on that level and not judge that person, then you have done more to change that person than beating them up and making them admit you were right would ever do. It's hard to get to that place, we know, because it's so much easier to fall back on, well, I'm okay, I know what I'm doing, I'm doing good, and they're not. Well, what if you're wrong? Clearly, they see the world a different way. Allow the other person their perspective. Do not allow them to impose it upon anyone else any more than you impose yours on someone else. There's room enough for everybody. The channel's daughter used to say, one of the best things you ever taught me, Mother, was there's enough pie for everybody if you cut the slices small enough. And it's true. If you can find a way to allow that person to be who they are and love them at the deepest level, which is to say, they are trying to be a physical manifestation of love in this world and they're having difficulty. It's all it takes is loving. You have to, but you have to start with loving yourself. It's all right to make mistakes. It's all right to own them. It's not okay to feel guilty. Guilt never solved anything. As a matter of fact, guilt adds more pounds than calories. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. Also, we'll throw in one of the channel's favorites. Every time you say should, substitute don't want to. Think about it. I should balance my checkbook. That's you shamed yourself. You're shaming, oh, I'm a terrible person. I've done terrible, and then you feel guilty, and it's okay that you didn't balance your checkbook because you feel guilty about it. If you say, I don't want to balance my checkbook, you haven't shamed yourself. You're still in charge, and you're at a place of choice. You're still in control. You can say, I don't want to balance my checkbook, but I'm going to anyway. Or you can say, I don't want to balance my checkbook, but I'm going to do it tomorrow. Or you can say, I don't want to balance my checkbook, and I don't know when I'm going to do it. There's no shame in that. You haven't guilted yourself, and you're still in control and in power. And when you shame yourself, you drain your energy, so you're probably never going to balance it. But substitute don't want to. I should do that. I don't want to do that. You're not lying then. You're still in control and you're still at choice. Does that make sense? Okay. So, you all have questions. We want to answer as many of those as we can. And we trust that Jay will stop us before we run into anything that's going on at 2 o'clock this afternoon. Because the channel has a terrible sense of time in this state. There is no time. So we would ask that you keep your questions as general and open as possible. It's not that we won't answer personal questions. Of course we will. But you need to remember that this is being taped and it's going to be out there forever. So take your chances. Okay, who's got questions?
I have one. I wonder what your channel see in this, because I'm often going back and forth on this. But the Mayas and the prophecies of the Mayas see 2012 as the beginning of the end of the world, with floods and glaciation and all that. Some modern authors do too. And then on the other hand, the Course in Miracles seems to think that in 100 years we'll be all at peace and everything will be wonderful and there'll be a world government and everybody will understand each other. What exactly is correct? Which one is true in these? These are opposites. So what is going on?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
We're not saying this is what's going to happen. We're just saying it's not necessarily that, total elimination or, destruction is not unknown on this planet. It's been cleaned up before. There was a flood, there was fire, everything was wiped out, and you still come back. So to think that if you are wiped out, that's it, forget that. It's like sweeping the cards off the table and starting over. Eternity is a long time, There's all the time in the world to start again and see if it works out better. That does not mean that it is inevitable that there will be destruction. But we side with the Maya in absolutely agreeing that the world as we know it will change so dramatically that you will be surprised. You wouldn't recognize it if you saw it today, you wouldn't recognize it. But we say to you, how many times has that happened before? The invention of the steam engine, the invention of the wheel changed everything. Atomic power changed everything. Took the whole world in a new direction. So what we are saying is the world is not going to continue down this road it's on. It's going to be a change of heart, because you are all working so hard to understand and to grow and to progress. Do you think that's going to be, do you think the universe is just going to look at you and go, nope, didn't make it? No. There are changes happening all around the world. And these changes are changing the world. Look at the difference between the world today and 10 years ago. You are so much more aware today. If you look back 50 years, you know 50 years ago, how much of what is real today didn't exist then? 50 years is not a long time. The world is constantly changing. The challenge and the opportunity for you is to choose how you want it to change. And that's where your extremely powerful intention comes in. If your intention is based on the world is going to be better when I wipe out all the Democrats or I wipe out all the Republicans, that's probably not a good thing. We can tell you absolutely it isn't a good thing. But if your intention is, gosh, I hope we begin to move into a more cooperative form of government, a more open, transparent form of government. I hope we find a new way to deal with, the climate situation without, any place where you see this total divide, climate change, no climate change, Democrats, Republicans, all of that where there's two sides, your intention needs to be to integrate it, not to get rid of the deniers, but to, or not to get rid of the climate change people, but to come together and explore and see where is the common ground. What's the common ground? You want the world to survive. You all have different ways of how you think that should happen. But you are going to have to form a cohesive intention and bring the universe in to... You don't think the universe can take care of it? Good heavens, yes. Anything is possible. That's what you have to understand. Anything is possible. You simply have to ask for it. And when your thoughts are all caught up with, getting the other people to fall off the cliff someplace, or getting your ideas made the law of the land, then there's that tension, that struggle, It's like plate tectonics, where there's two plates of the earth rub up against each other, and they are moving until eventually there's an earthquake. Or they can move apart, or they can butt up against each other, and if they don't keep rubbing against each other, it'll be fine. Stop rubbing up against the other person. The channel does what she calls dialogues with essence. We like the name. And she asks questions. Her son asks a question, and she allows us to answer it. And the other day she was looking through old dialogues, and there was one on how to stay balanced in the current energy. And the question was presented, how do we deal with other people in this new energy? And how can we, how are we supposed to react to them to get things to change? And we replied that they had to reframe the question, because every time you react to something, that means you have an objective. You're reacting to that, meaning you want to change it. You have to interact with it. You who are parents know that when you're in an argument with your kids, it's all about react, 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 react. There's no interaction. There's no how do we resolve this. It's you're wrong, no, you never listen, that sort of thing. And when you're in that state, all you're doing is adding to the chaos and adding to the structure energy. Interaction. Interaction. Not this, this. Because you are one with everything. It all is a part of you. And so how do you come to love that which is showing up in your life? How do you interact with it without judging it and condemning it? You want to know how you change the world? Change the way you react. Interact with people. Do you see what we're saying? So, does that help at all with your question?
I'd like to focus on the question or the theme, and that is surviving in a digital age. My question is, how concerned should we be about the children who are a couple months old and just can't get enough of cell phones and what have you? I think of a cartoon I saw where the child is in a high chair playing with a cracker, and the parents are sitting at the table with their phones and saying, maybe we should put our phones down because the kid's trying to text with a cracker. And I have some great-grandchildren, 4, 5 of them, and when they come to visit, it's hard for me to separate them from their devices that their parents send with them. So how concerned should we be?
You're all pretty much concerned when you think about it, but a lot of you aren't thinking about it. And it's getting worse and worse and worse. We have said the channel is a Luddite. She refuses to text. And one reason she does is that she was part of that digital revolution when it came into printing and graphics and everything. And it was learn a new program every Monday, you know. Thursday, something new's coming out and you got to learn it and everything is different. And so she just was overloaded and wanted to quit it. The other thing is when you are not texting, you are not sitting at a table with other people in a restaurant doing this. She can count on one hand the people who have done that, you know, who have not. They all do it because everybody does it. And so you have to set an intention that you want to be mindful of it, you want to be respectful of your children, but you are going to control it, and it's not easy. You know, you've all heard, you know, devices at the dinner table. No way. Ask yourself, why am I allowing that? Why am I allowing that? For some of you, it's because you do the same thing. For some of you, it's because it's easier. The kids are going to be, you know. And the truth is, it's not going to change unless you know. Yes, look at the cartoon. Yes, the parents should set their phones down. You know, the channel has a great-granddaughter who is going to be 4 next week. And her favorite toy since the time she was born has been her mother's cell phone. It's scary. To whom do you assign the responsibility? I don't want to say who do you blame. Who do you assign the responsibility to? You. The channel several times has said, okay, I'll learn to text. And then she says, no, I'm not going to text. I don't want to have my life tied to that machine. You know, it's easier for her because she's old, and she's got other things on her mind, other things to do. Her children will call her or email her. Although they've told her, email is out. Well, okay. She's thinking of moving to an island someplace off the coast of Italy. And just being out, really out. But it's about self-control. And when you look at your kids and you say, it's no different than if they were doing something else you didn't want them to do. You have to talk to them about it. You have to explain to them. And you have to set some reasonable, rational guidelines. Certain hours, we can tell you, it's no different than the 50s when TV came in. It's exactly the same thing. The kids would run home, turn on the TV, park in front of it. Same thing. You have to remember that you are responsible for teaching them what's important. Where Sally Mae is at the mall is not important all the time. Do you see what we're saying? And we're not guilting anybody, we're just explaining. The only way you're going to be able to do it is to do it. There's no secret to it except find some rules that will work for you. And ideally, if they learn that there are things they can do without their phones, they'll explore that some more. Otherwise, the longer it goes on, the worse it gets because they are addicted to it. Do you see what we're saying? But it's really no different than anything else. Radio, TV, telephone, these all, there was the same thing. Oh my gosh, they're spending too much time in front of the TV. How long ago has it been since you heard that? Same rules apply. And think of the money. Good heavens. Think of the money. One way you could cut back on it is make them pay their own cell phone bills. Yes, we're not much help on that, but there isn't much we can say, except it's going to get worse if it doesn't get better. And you have to make a decision. Okay?
That was very helpful. I was more concerned about the energetics of it all and how are those devices affecting their brains and their energy fields?
They're affecting your brains, of course, because when they're taking up all that space up there, there's no room. The way they affect your brain is that the kids aren't thinking about anything else. They're not thinking, period. They are just reacting. Oh, here somebody texted me. Oh, I have to text back. Oh, now they texted back to me and I have to, it's all a reactionary spiral. And the deeper they get into it, it's like Twitter, When you look at someone, a movie star or a recording artist in quotes, and they have 3 million Twitter followers, don't you wonder what those 3 million people are doing? Get a life. It's about how do you substitute something else that has real value? What if you set aside an hour every week for a spiritual discussion? What do you think happens to you after you're dead? A question like that. They don't have time. They don't have time. And that's the thing. You have to carve out some time that is inviolate and is not going to be spent in front of the TV, on Twitter, on Facebook, on texting, And then if you just sit around and look at each other, That'll tell you something. There's no connection. Group activities where you work together. Get a project where you're all involved. You have to, if phones are the carrot, you've got to get a cupcake over here to dangle in front of them. Something they want to do that you're going to do together that will get them out of the house and they leave their phones at home.
Speaking of time, we're coming to the end of ours today. We are so grateful for Essence and Lynda for joining us and sharing some wonderful wisdom.
We will wind up here then. We hope we have given you some things to think about. We hope we have created a space that you could feel comfortable in. And we would love to see all of you again at some point. Going forward, we want to tell you that you are not doing bad at all. Don't guilt yourself if your kids are on the phone 18 hours a day. Keep working at it. Keep setting an intention. It's going to change. It's going to get better. It is going to change. And it is going to change for the good because that's your intention. We would be more worried if you weren't worried. Do you see? One of the things we want you to know beyond anything else, if you take away nothing from this morning except this, know that you are loved beyond your ability to understand it and comprehend it. You are never not loved. There is not a single moment when the universe, God, the One, Allah, whatever name you give to it, is judging you. There's always support. There's always love available. Ask for it. We have said, and we say again, the most powerful prayer, thank you, is a very powerful prayer. And many people will tell you that's the most powerful prayer. It's very powerful. The most powerful prayer is more. More. When you get something in your life that fills you with joy or makes you feel good, raise your eyes to heaven and say, more, please. Because the universe is just waiting to give you more. There is an abundance. There is more than enough for everyone. And when you state that prayer, more, please, you're stating that you believe there is more available, that you believe that you are worthy of more, and that you would use it in a powerful way. We use this example, and we will leave it with you because so many of you are new to us. The others who have already heard it, enjoy. It's very much as if you had prepared a marvelous meal, Christmas dinner for your family, or a birthday dinner for your family. And everybody's eating it, and it's like, oh wow, this is so good, this is fabulous. And they clean their plates, and they're telling you, that was the best dinner. How does that feel? That feels really, really good. If someone says to you, could I have some more, please? How much more does that change the energy? It makes it totally different. And that is the way it is with the universe. There's all this more that's available to you, and you never ask for it. You don't get extra credit if you do it yourself. Ask for more. Every little minuscule thing that you can move forward with the phone situation that looks positive, more please. Because you're stating your intention that you know the universe, God, whatever, wants to support you, wants to help you. More is the most powerful prayer.
Well, I invite you to help the whole room to help thank Lynda for, in essence, for this wonderful time today. And if